Man, that's a beautiful aircraft, isn't it? Look at that thing. I have been incredibly lucky to work on a wide range of exciting products, from blue chip companies to startups. And one of the most exciting was for, I guess, it felt a bit like a combination of a blue chip and a startup. They were very much not a startup, Rolls-Royce, the aircraft manufacturers. But the team with whom we worked, which was the test pilots, very much felt like the feel of a startup company when a company's bringing some new product or new innovative service to market, and you've got to work with them to kind of see it come to fruition. When we started working on this app, it was being used in their various aircraft, including the Spitfire, and I guess the product culminated in the app's involvement with Rolls-Royce's world record attempt for the electric aircraft. So this has been really, really exciting. They approached us many years ago to develop them a flight checklist app to digitise what it was a very manual process when it comes to pre-flight checks, in-flight checks, post-flight checks and emergency checks. And over the years the product has evolved, and I could spend ages talking about that. But I really want to focus on the IoT aspect and kind of how it was used in that world record attempt in the electric aircraft. So I took our senior developer, Dave Taylor, who did a lot of the work on the product, and we went to our local airfield, Lasham Airfield, to chat about a number of the innovations that we put into the app and some of the challenges we faced and how we overcame those. Today, we are here on this glorious day. You'll have to forgive my colleague and his glasses. The sun is so bright, so we've allowed him to wear shades. He's a very cool guy. Yeah. I've got the benefit of this lovely wide-brimmed hat. Anyhow, we're here at Lasham Airfield, and you can see behind me the aircraft being serviced and hopefully a view of a glider taking off. For me, the really exciting innovation was when Rolls-Royce were preparing to break the speed record for an electric aircraft, and we worked very closely with them, and this product, the flight checklist app, was an integral part of that world record speed attempt, which they surpassed. But one of the challenges that came up during development of the aircraft was they realised that they were using iPads at the time, not the big ones like this, but slightly smaller, and they were going to be quite a long way away, mounted in the cockpit, and they weren't sure they were going to be able to reach it. And so they came to us and said, well, we'd like the Apple Watch to be able to control us. So can you just talk to us a bit about how we updated the Apple Watch to support that?
Yeah, so this is quite a cool change, actually. We took inspiration from the Apple TV remote app that you get on the watch.
Yep.
So in that app, you can essentially control the Apple TV from the watch by using gestures. So we decided we'd take that and we'd put that in flight checklist so that you can scroll around the checklists and tick them off all from the watch using a swipe gesture.
Nice. And in terms of the integration between the watch and the phone, were there any challenges with that, or did that kind of work just out of the box?
I mean, Apple have done a really good job with the watch integration framework. So essentially all I really needed to do was just send commands periodically from the phone to the watch.
So the communication works really nicely, but in terms of what the communication was and how the phone reacted, what did we do? Did we develop our own?
Yes, we had our own little custom events that we sent over.
Okay.
We'd send over an event with a little packet of data to describe how the phone should respond to that event.
Apart from kind of developing the app so that it could recognise these events and I guess pick different UI elements to focus on based on the commands sent to it.
Yes, exactly.
Were there any other changes that were required in the app?
Yeah, so there's a few native Apple elements.
The little kind of standard
like
alerts.
the pop-ups and things like that. So obviously they're not you can't really interact with them via this sort of method. So we had to rewrite all of those to use our kind of custom controls.
In the end, Rolls-Royce didn't need to use the watch app to control the flight checklist app in the record attempt because they actually ended up mounting it on their thigh. And we can take a quick look at that in this video here. I'm just going to run this. This is a video from Rolls-Royce's YouTube channel, and it shows Phil getting in the aircraft. That's Phil there. Just going to climb in the aircraft, and I'm going to pause it right just there. Okay, so here you can see in the cockpit that he's got the flight checklist app loaded on his right thigh, and it's mounted there on an iPhone, and then he's got the tablet version mounted in the aircraft, and you can see kind of this is the view he's got there. And it's really fascinating to listen to Phil speaking about how the methodical process of checks helps slow him down and calm him before a flight of this nature. So let's just listen in. Actually, it's really interesting to listen to.
As we get to those last moments before I get airborne, I've run through all of my checks, so it's very procedural, because in this dynamic environment, I think that's vital. And it slows me down a little bit as well and calms me down a little bit.
14.1, 97, 96, 97. No reds, no ambers, no attention getters.
It's easy to get taken away with the journey, the briefing for the record run. You can see the excitement, I can feel the excitement. So I'm slowing that down. That mental rehearsal where I walk through tries to slow me down. And I just try and quieten myself a little bit and breathe.
You can see here the navigation app is now on the tablet with the checklist on his thigh.
Ready, run. Ready, run. TM Merlin's ready. TM ready. Merlin ready departure. Merlin cleared for takeoff.
Now that's a beautiful aircraft, isn't it? Look at that thing. That's gorgeous. So I'm going to pause it there, but you can watch the whole video on Rolls-Royce's YouTube channel, and we'll provide a link for that. One of the other really exciting innovations that we got to work on in the Rolls-Royce Fly Checklist app, in addition to the kind of the Apple Watch work where we had that remote control, was upgrading the timers. Now, when Apple Watch first came out, we built some custom timers in an Apple Watch app for Rolls-Royce, but they didn't. Apple Watch's out-of-the-box timers didn't really do what they needed to do for them, and the ones that we could develop were pretty much limited by the framework, because the Apple Watch in the very early days was very limited in its functionality. So we actually shifted most of the timer logic and work to the app itself, and we integrated with a custom bit of hardware, which looks a bit like this. And I chatted to Dave a little bit about that and about some of the challenges we faced.
Let's talk a bit about phase 3. We mentioned earlier about the initial version of the app having custom timers, and I remember the challenges that Rolls-Royce had with that was, even with the local notifications, it still wasn't as flexible as they wanted it. Can you talk to how we solved that problem?
And I think also another issue they had was the timer on the watch, the haptics were very subtle.
Oh, that's right.
So
they couldn't feel them.
Yeah, exactly. So we found a Bluetooth device that I think it's used for fall detection.
This thing here?
Yes, this thing right here, exactly, which has a very, very strong buzz. So we developed a little framework to interact with that and to send buzzers to it. And
so this device, it was effectively, I remember it was sourced from China. It is kind of a prototype proof of concept bit of hardware, which is reasonably basic in so much as it's got kind of motion detection in it, doesn't it?
Yes.
As you say, a really, really strong haptic engine, and then some basic commands that we can send to it in order to kind of get it to buzz.
Yeah.
I remember a number of challenges with this was obviously we're dealing with a totally not brilliantly documented bit of custom hardware that was kind of developed for this purpose. Remind me what we did, because I remember when we pair this device, these are basically all the same, aren't they? As far as the phone, when it sees them, it just sees, if there's 3 or 4 of them,
yes,
it sees the same thing.
Totally. So, and especially with these sort of devices, they'll all send the same advertising identifier, because that's just kind of the way the Bluetooth works.
Yeah.
So what we do is we kind of look at signal strength. And if the signal strength is kind of high enough, then we assume that's going to be your band, and it will try and pair with that band.
And then does the device have a unique ID that kind of the app can retain?
Yes, totally.
Okay.
So once we've done one connection, the device will remember that ID, and then next time you come back, you'll make sure you've got your band.
And this was a challenge because you had a bunch of pilots all sitting around a briefing table trying to work out whose device was whose. And I think the first version didn't have that signal strength pairing in, and they were like, we kept having to go to different rooms to pair to come back.
Yes, exactly.
So talk to me a little bit about how we dealt with kind of improving on the haptic experience. So this clearly was a stronger haptic than the Apple Watch, which is why it was chosen. Yes. But how did we kind of make it so that they could set up multiple different timers with different sort of haptic events?
Yes, so I guess the big drawback with that device is it only has one type of buzz.
Right.
However, we can kind of send the buzz command at different cadences.
Okay, yeah.
So we can kind of imitate more fancy buzzes.
We can so we can effectively, it's got one buzz, but that doesn't matter because we can basically design buzz patterns, I guess,
Yes.
buzz patterns in the app. And if I remember rightly, they had a handful of buzz patterns that they could pick from
Yes,
when they were setting up their timers. So kind of I've got my device paired, I know it's mine, I know it's not yours, I've got some timers set up. Were there any other challenges? Did it just work from there on in?
No, so there was one more challenge.
Oh,
So
yeah.
often these pilots, they minimise the app and they have their own little flight map.
The navigation app that they
Yes, the
use in
navigation
yeah,
app.
because actually that navigation app is linked to Flight Checklist, and we worked with the navigation company so you could link between the two. But yes, so they would background the Flight Checklist app.
Yes, and that is a big problem when it comes to Bluetooth. Because as soon as that happens, the app will kind of turn its Bluetooth side off.
Oh, so it stops listening or stops sending the
and
buzzers.
suddenly you have no more buzzers, exactly.
So are the timers still running?
The timers are still running because they are located on the phone.
Right, but they can't communicate
But they
to
can't
the
communicate.
device. Okay, so what do we do?
Exactly. So luckily, the strap sends motion data periodically, like we said, had a motion sensor in it, and so we could subscribe to that notification.
Okay.
And that would kind of keep the Bluetooth alive on the app very sneakily.
But legally, so because
yes.
Apple are very against you hacking their environment, and I want to be clear that this was a legal manipulation
Yes.
of something that already exists. So because this thing's got I guess some kind of accelerometer in it, probably something very basic, whenever it moved, it would indicate, it would call to the app, and we just subscribed to that, and that was enabled us therefore to keep that Bluetooth connection alive.
Yes,
So this proved to be really successful, and in fact, it was even put into a Bremont prototype watch strap, because Bremont was involved in the record attempt as the official timer. And they produced a watch and a watch strap that we worked with them to mount this device in, because it came with this kind of rather naff rubbery strap, and it needed to go in something nice, and the pilots were already wearing Bremont watches. So that was really exciting, and this is kind of good work doing this. And I want to show a little bit. I want to show a little bit of the user interface for this, because actually I think it's really, really nice, and it's kind of coming up with innovative tech is one thing, and doing the technical stuff well is one thing, but making it really kind of usable is really good. So we have in the product, we've got this kind of big timer element, which is effectively a stopwatch, and you can press start and stop and reset and whatever. That's kind of a standard bit of functionality. There were, up in the top left here, you could set time presets, which were slightly different to the timers. These are a bit like calendar reminders. The pilots really liked, they would have morning briefings and various other bits. And so this is effectively, so it's a reminder versus a timer. But I won't go into that. But this button down here is where the haptic timers were set up, and so this is the engine that was mounted on the watch strap. You can see here that my band is connected, so here's my band, it's connected, and I can hold it by the microphone, and I can press buzz it to make sure that it's my band, and you can hear it kind of making a massive strong buzz there, and it tells me the battery level, which is obviously very useful. And then in this list here we have a number of timers. Now we can set up unlimited numbers of timers, 3 of which will be displayed on the clock. And so I've got one already set up for 1 minute, and I've got one set up for 1 minute 30. I'm going to add another one. Let's add one for 2 minutes. But you can see here that we could set it up for as long as we wanted. We can also set a color for that reminder. So there's 5 preset colors, and that's quite important. It reflects on the watch, but also there are banners that come up whenever one of these timers completes. So I think we'll go with yellow. I don't think we've got that. And we can turn the display ring on or off, but I'm going to want the display ring on. I can select the buzz type, and this is what Dave was talking about, customizing the buzz. So I'm kind of happy with a short buzz on that one. And I can set it to start automatically, or I can set it to start at a certain time. But I'm kind of happy with that, and it will repeat infinitely, or I can have it repeat a number of times. So really powerful sort of reminder tools that the pilots could use, that would help them kind of track various events while they were flying. Another really nice element is if I added another timer. I'm just going to add one. I'm going to make it, I'm just going to choose the default. And if I edit it, you can reorder these nicely. Now, what was really good is, or what I really like, is that we indicate a little bit of call to action there to say, hey, just so you know, only the top 3 timers will display on the watch face. Any further timers will buzz, totally fine, and you'll get the notifications. So now I'm ready. I've got my timers set up. I can actually give them a name. Keep that. Beautiful. So now I want to run my timers. So I can tap this button down here. I can select the timers I would like to run, and I then press the play button. And now what you can see on the home screen here, the rings are starting to fill out as these timers run. It's the check fuel one. So this banner comes down on screen, and that'd come down for any timer. You can probably hear the buzz, so I'll move that away because it will get... And it's set for a long buzz, so it will buzz quite a lot. And then we should see the second timer complete as well. And so each timer you can stop, reset it, and then you could edit it if you liked. And actually I am going to edit it, so I'm going to have them all firing off really close to each other because I wanted to show how the banners work. So if I have one firing every 5 seconds, actually, and I'm going to, because that's every 5 seconds, I'm going to turn the buzz off, and I'm going to come out of here. You can hear the buzzer going off. I'm going to go ahead and stop that timer. I'm going to reset it. I'm going to edit it, and I'm going to have it going every 10 seconds, and I'm going to turn the buzzer off because, again, I don't want to buzz it. It's going to be really crazy if I do it for this test. And then finally, I'm going to stop the check fuel. I'm going to reset it. I'm going to tap the edit button, and I'm going to turn the buzzer off. And I'm going to set this one to like 15 seconds. And now or actually I set it for 13 seconds. No, 14 seconds, live the dream. So I've got a timer for 5 seconds, 10 seconds, and 14 seconds. I don't know if you notice, every time you tap in, they adopt the color, which is really nice. I can play those 3 timers. And I'll dismiss that screen, and you can see the rings filling out, kind of racing to fill out, and you can see what will happen when each timer completes. The banner displays, and hopefully the blue one will complete before the yellow one dismisses. Beautiful. And so you can sort of see as the timers are triggered that they display for a period of time and hide. So it's kind of a hectic demonstration, and this is unlikely to happen, but it does show what would happen if timers are concluding at the same time. They are displaying at the top of the banner there. And if the user doesn't have the iPad open, these are also sending local notifications. So your watch will be being notified as well as your buzzer if you choose to have the watch kind of plumbed in, or the phone will be notified. But really nice user interface to kind of be conscious of the environment in which we're working, demonstrating, displaying information to the pilots at the point at which they need it.